Welcome to the Right Brain Thinking in a Left Brain World with Monica of Monica.com. I'm Vanessa, the co-host of this show. Before we begin, I'd like to explain the format change. So the 90 minutes will consist of a lecture and specific lessons. During the last 30 minutes, Monica will do intuitive readings, but she will only be taking 3 or 4 calls because she can spend more time with each caller. Also, as a reminder, after the show, you can email Monica and ask her to send you any of the materials we'll be using in today's lesson. However, she does not accept email requesting free readings, so you can go to her website, monica.com, and that's with 2 N's, and you can email her from there. If you've missed some of the previous shows, the good news is that you can find it now on YouTube. So just go to youtube.com, type in The People's Voice, Monica Sepulveda, or Right Brain Thinking in a Left Brain World, and you shall find it. So the new format and lessons starts with episode 5. Monica, this is our 5th lesson.
Yeah,
What are we going to learn today? And hello.
Hi, Anessa. Hi, everybody. Thanks for tuning in today. And it's a beautiful day here in California. Of course, it's only 1 o'clock in the afternoon. So nice day, warm temperatures. What we're going to learn today is a lot of fun. A lot of people ask me about the symptoms that they've been going through, which are I call them the Ascension symptoms, because the frequency of this planet has been changing from the 3rd to the 4th to the 5th. And there's specific symptoms, and I'm going to go through those because a lot of people will be able to relate to, oh my gosh, that happens to me. I've been feeling that way too. I thought I was going crazy. So I do have a list of those symptoms, and you'll be surprised at how many you have. I'm also going to cover one of the things that people tell me is that they have a hard time getting out of a bad mood, or maybe they're feeling anxiety. As we know, this show is about balance, and the key is to get out of anxiety, because anxiety or stress means that a person's living in the future, and people that are depressed haven't let go of their past, so they're living in the past. And when we're at peace, we're in the moment. So the key is to be at a peaceful place. That doesn't mean that we stuff our emotion. That means that we deal with them and let them go. So one of the things I'm going to share today is some tools that I use personally in order to be able to find a good place, to be able to let go each morning and to get a message. And I use the angel cards, and I also use the runes, which I'll talk about in a little bit. The other thing too is a lot of people ask me, my God, Monica, how are you able to manifest things? How can I learn to manifest? Because it seems like everything you focus on comes to pass. So I'm going to teach everyone in today's show how to manifest. I have a specific strategy that I use, and it never fails. So I can't wait to share all that with you.
Well, that sounds really exciting, Monica. So
I know.
What would you like to start with? Is it the runes? Is it the angel cards?
I'm actually going to talk about the Ascension list,
Okay.
because I think the Ascension is really important for people to think, the energies of the planet have escalated rapidly, from the 3rd dimension, and it's shifting. And as it shifts, we also have to shift as well. With the entrance of the 5th dimension, it's brought about a lot of powerful changes, and we're feeling it in our body, our mind, and emotions. And some people think, oh my gosh, I'm going crazy here. So it's important for us to really look at the energy that our people are experiencing right now. And again, if you want a copy of this list, just email me, monica888@yahoo.com, or just go to my website. But when I give you this list, it'll actually act as a form of reassurance that your journey at this point in time and integration as you're moving into a higher frequency is perfect. It's pretty normal what you're going through, but a lot of people don't realize it. They just think there's something wrong with me, But there are actually markers that we each go through, and it shows us that we're expanding as well. They're not comfortable though, so one of the things that we encourage is for you to do a lot of deep breathing, to laugh, smile, and to know and trust, because anyone that's on a spiritual journey knows that there's going to be some things that come with it because our DNA changes. We start using more of our brain. And I remember when I started communicating with extraterrestrials back in the 70s, because that energy was so high, the frequency was so high. It's like hearing a high-pitched noise. You want to just, cover your ears. For me, I ended up with a headache that lasted for 8 months because they kept feeding me and downloading information. And it was horrible. So the first thing on the Ascension Checklist, we're going to go through it, are headaches. People experience, pressure, sometimes right in the head, in the third eye area, sometimes at the top. And for me, I had it in the back of my head.
Monica, sorry to interrupt. I always get this newfound pressure in here, in a third eye area, and forehead, and that's what it felt like, but I haven't heard anyone else saying it. So now it makes sense when you say it, because for the last few years, or maybe a year, maybe for the last year, I kept on getting this pressure feeling in the forehead. Now
that's a good sign. That's a really good sign, but sometimes it can drive you nuts because it can also turn into like a feeling of lightheadedness as well. And I just, whenever I get that, I have to like lay down because it's just too much. I know that I'm downloading, information. So I just basically want to just go to sleep. The second thing on the list is you start getting visions. And so some people feel like they're not very stable, and what you want to do is really kind of drink more water and get grounded. When you're seeing things of your corner, a lot of people see things from the corners of their eyes. I don't know if you've never noticed this. You're watching TV, and all of a sudden from the corner of your eye, you start seeing things manifesting, orbs, blue ones, white ones, but people start to see these things, and that's usually spirit guides. The blue one is Saint Michael, actually, the Archangel Michael. And so they start seeing things in the peripheral. Some people see things moving very quickly, but so you start opening up and seeing other dimensions as well. Guess what number 3 is? Sleep pattern interruptions. Hello.
Hello, it's you, darling.
It happens to me all the time, So try not to resist it. One of the things I find that, because we do need our sleep in order to be able to heal our bodies. That's when our bodies are healing. So I feel that one of the things I've learned about getting sleep and getting a natural sleep is to actually take some calcium about 30 minutes before you go to bed at night. And there's actually a powdered calcium that you can mix with warm water and drink it like a tea. And it's got magnesium in it. And I also have a liquid calcium that I take. And what it does is it relaxes all the muscles and it relaxes the mind, and it really helps people fall asleep. So that's a good thing to have. Of course, other people have their own chamomile teas or whatever. Okay, there's some people that they feel like they're going crazy. Like I said before, like you're losing your mind, or you can't like really focus on anything anymore. And so just get accustomed to that. It's just not a big deal. It's going to pass. Remember, all these symptoms, they will come, but they will also leave. So it's nothing that's going to stay with you forever. A lot of times we revisit habits and patterns that we were confident were gone, and all of a sudden they show up again, like, damn, I thought I'd already learned the lesson about faith, and here it comes again. I feel like I'm being tested, and so habits and patterns coming back. All you have to do is just be at peace with them and just say, okay, thank you for showing me that you're here, but you can keep moving forward. You can move on because I don't roll like that anymore. Well, that's what we say here anyway. That's not British vernacular, is it? That's
not exactly, no.
No, okay. Well, in America, we always say that's not how I roll, which means that's not how I function anymore. That's not my modus operandi, So here I am, a 62-year-old, using contemporary vernacular of young people. But that's what keeps you young. That's what keeps you young. So anyway, emotional mood swings. Oh my gosh. People highs and lows and ups and downs and all over the place. Be very gentle with yourself when that happens. Because again, what I say is this too shall pass. I feel this, but I want to let it go. And when I feel something, I feel it for a good 5 minutes, and then I release it. I actually look at a clock. And I really look at it. Okay, I'm only going to feel this way for 5 minutes, and as soon as it hits that, then I'm going to release it, transform it, turn it into pure love, and send it out to a hospital. Since I love animals, I send it to animal hospitals to heal the animals there. Embracing unity consciousness is another one on the list. Feeling overwhelming love for all of humanity, the planet, and your existence. And then that comes and goes with people, but I do feel it. I get a sense of like, oh my gosh, I have a responsibility here to be the best person I can and take care of my space. And then when we each do that, then we're actually expanding and sending more love to the planet. As you know, that there's people that intentionally send negativity in order to keep us enslaved in fear, yes, and in worry and in self-doubt. And we have to learn to let go of that, and because it's really an illusion, but it's very easy to make it feel so real, you know, that we buy into it. So we have to learn to, you know, to move on from that and just embrace unity consciousness and love. We got to stay there. I know it sounds really simple, but you know what? Easier said than done, you know?
Yeah.
Heightened sensitivity to smell and to sound and to taste. Oh my gosh, you know, I remember going into certain stores and hearing a very high-pitched sound, and I couldn't stand it. And so I went to the manager. I said, why does your department store have this high pitch constantly? And they said, oh, wow, you can hear that. And I said, yes, I can. They said, well, it's at a very high frequency, and most people can hear it, but every once in a while people can hear it. And I said, I can't be in your store because of that. And it's a major department store. Mm-hmm. But you know, the more that you start to use more of the brain and to expand, your sensitivities become heightened. So your smell, your sound, and your taste become more heightened.
Totally. Anytime I go out, I always stick tissues in my ears because it's way too loud for me. Or if I can't stand perfume. I mean, I call it, what is that concoction of chemical stuff you're wearing? Because it just so irritates me. I can only now accept these like natural oils, you
yes,
know, like I make up my own perfume, like either like jasmine, rose, whatever. I just mix it up in another base oil like jojoba oil, and then yeah, that sort of perfumes is all right.
You're saying things that other people are thinking about as they watch this show, you know, and I'm glad that I love the feedback from you, Inessa. The next one is losing track of time. Duh, that happens to me all the time. Have you ever noticed when you're online, all of a sudden go, I can't believe, where did the 2 hours go? It's just that, you know,
yeah,
and people then become so, you know, disconnected from time that they miss appointments. And this is a real common one. They miss exits on, here we call them freeways or highways. I don't know what you call them there, but when you have to take an exit off to get onto a road and you miss that exit.
Yeah.
Yeah, that happens. It's constant. And at the end of the day, you're like, well, what happened to this day? It's kind of like, it felt like it just went so fast. So that's very common as well. I don't know if you've ever had this one before, but I have. Physically dropping things or bumping into things. Oh my God, I feel like such a dork. You know, kind of like I'm just walking, all of a sudden I just bump into a wall and I go, what?
I do have that. And I get bruises very easily, so I get marked quite easily when I do that.
You know, when you're in that kind of mode, it's not a good time to be cutting vegetables or using any knives.
Yeah.
You know, ow. Anyway, okay, so we were talking about also hearing high-pitched tones or a series of tones. A lot of people, you know, hear those tones. Another thing I don't think is on this list at all, but a lot of people see the, because I looked at this was number 11, a lot of people see 11:11 on the clock constantly. And 11:11, when you see that, I saw that when back in the 70s, I started seeing 11:11 every time I looked at a clock. What that means is that you have a calling for a spiritual path, and that you know, because 11 is a number of inspiration in numerology. And so you have a calling that's more of a spiritual calling, and that's the path that you should, you know, continue. Because a lot of people, they go, well, what does that mean? I see that constantly. Well, there's actually a book now that's called 11:11. I actually bought it, but I don't know where it is right now. It's one of those things that I kind of misplaced for a moment. Okay, this one's serious. People sometimes have this very darkness feeling of suicidal thoughts that are very brief, or spiritual death. Remember that this is just third dimensional stuff at trying to unlock and understand of who you are and what you're experiencing. Those thoughts are just that there's parts of us that are dying, you know, old concepts, old ways of living our lives. Kind of like people that have dreams about dying. You're not really dying, you're just letting go of aspects of the personality that's no longer necessary. You know what I'm saying? So like,
yes,
maybe we had a particular MO while we were in the third dimension, but in the fifth dimension, you know, we can manifest things, which we're going to talk about later, much faster now, you know. So anyway, the next one, a heightened sense of not being on the planet.
Sounds like me.
You feel detached or a little
totally.
You know, it's like, yeah, I feel like I'm more one. I love to go out at nighttime. You know, I live by the ocean, so the stars can be very bright here, and sometimes I just feel like wow, I just feel so connected to everything else. And I even asked, well, where does it end? How far is space? And what I said, because I couldn't conceive of that idea of where does it go? Where does it, yeah, we can see the galaxy and other galaxies, but they told me that it actually changes frequencies and goes into a higher frequency. And so if we were to travel there, we can't be in our physical bodies because we have to be in a different frequency. So that's kind of a trip for me. A sense of free-flowing energy, which can often manifest to be misrepresented as anxiety without basis. So do you ever feel like that? Like you get anxious and you don't know why you're anxious?
I do, but I put it down to coffee and then I stopped drinking it and it was better.
Well, I'll do it, Anessa, but you know what? In the middle of the day, sometimes people just feel that anxiety. And it's just that, again, there's a lot of energy that's flowing through our bodies. And so one of the best ways to get rid of that is to do some deep breathing, And again, always remember, smile, laugh, breathe, and accept and know that you're safe. Jolts of energy that are felt physically. I don't know if that's ever happened to you, but
all the time. People get scared. They think I'm drunk or high on something when I get my so-called laughing fits all the time.
Oh yeah, I can just be sitting and all of a sudden I just go like that. I'm like, what the hell was that?
Exactly. Even Martina sometimes tells me during our show not to giggle because when you are talking, actually the sound guy sometimes has to put me down because I'm having a laughing fit. That's something you didn't know.
Yeah, well, these are all little symptoms here. The next one is lack of focus and attention. For any length of time, try to be patient. Keep lists. Recognize that you were busy in another dimension. It's just that don't make a big deal of this. In other words, it's just, again, it's not that you're being forgetful, that you got Alzheimer's or dementia or anything like that. It's these are things that are all temporary, but it's important for me to point them out. A heightened, newfound discomfort with some public environments. It's like some people are triggered in high density buildings, toxic lighting, that kind of thing. I'm very sensitive to, and I never use the fluorescent lighting. I can't handle that. That just really bothers me a lot. There's mercury in those light bulbs,
Yes.
and that really affects the thinking.
I went through the phase of like I have to use underground, which has got this bright, so annoying light, which is probably those fluorescent lights you're talking about. So I always would wear sunglasses and a hoodie because it was way too bright. And I had that phase for like 3 months. Now I'm a bit better, but I still wear a hoodie in the underground because I just can't stand it.
Here's a good example. When you go into a movie theater, it's really, really dark and you can't see in there. So you have to stand there for a while until you can finally see the seats. Your eyes have to acclimate. The same as with light as well. I had light sensitivity as well. And I'd always have to wear glasses and I always kept my curtains closed and people go, it's so dark in here. I go, I can't handle, it's too bright. That energy is very disturbing for me. So you just have to slowly work through it, Next thing, a sudden urge to make everything spacious. Boy, is that me. I can't stand clutter. When there's just too many things around me. In fact, when I go to dinner with someone, they always know the first thing I do is I start moving things away because I always have all this stuff, and I just like to have space and I get rid of old things, even move things. When someone comes over, I go, hey, do you want this? Do you want that? I'm constantly giving things away because I need that space. That feeling of clutter makes me anxious. And so it's a good idea that, the rule basically is if you haven't used it, read it, worn it in 2 years, toss it, give it to Goodwill or some kind of charity or give it to somebody that needs it.
I very much connect with that. I love throwing things out because I like my space as well.
Yeah, you do. And that's the key. That's another symptom. Again, a lot of people can relate. Heartburn and chest pressure. The heart is opening. There's nothing wrong with that. Well, I'm not talking about acid reflux where you're constantly belching. That's different. That's acid. That's acid in your system. You need more alkaline. And if you need more alkaline, all you have to do is take sodium bicarbonate tablets, 650 milligrams. That's basically baking soda. Baking soda will oxygenate you. It will bring up the alkaline levels. Or you can get alkaline through garlic, apples, ginger, through natural foods. But heartburn and chest pain, the heart is opening, so it does feel like that, even though it's not. And here I'm belching, right? Attraction to new colors. Wow, that is so true. It's like, for me, I never would have worn a color like this, this neon yellow, kind of a lime color. but I'm just very drawn to it. It's just, and blue, I never wear blue, and here I'm wearing a blue, sweater. And so all of a sudden I just thought, I really like these colors. And I'm a red person. I always, on my furniture, you can see my couch is red. I really love red. But yeah, attraction to new colors is very common. All of a sudden,
that I can really connect with that, because I used to hate pink. I never ever worn pink. I was avoiding it and always. Now guess what? That's my shoes, and I was wearing pink for the last show. And for some reason, I'm just attracted to this color, which my old me would have been disturbed by that.
Oh my gosh. Anyway.
But now every day I'm just trying to wear something colorful. Even today I'm wearing this colorful dress because it's just like, I don't know, I feel attraction to colors now very much.
And especially when we went through the colors last week, the color therapy and what they do for us, that's the universal color of love. So this is one of the reasons why you're so drawn to it right now. The next one is a change of priorities in your career and relationships. Now, isn't that true? All of a sudden, a person can become their accountant, doing numbers, and all of a sudden they go, I really want to learn how to become a chef. So they go from doing a left brain activity to a right brain activity, and there's no rational reason. They just feel like, I just want to make this change, and I just feel like this is better for me, Or relationships, you used to hang out with people that maybe were more pretentious, and now you're hanging out with people that are much more maybe on the same path, maybe more spiritual, or they have a clue. I call the people that aren't into any spirituality, they're just younger souls for me, And one of the best books I've ever read, my favorite book, is called Messages from Michael. And it's by Chelsea Quinn Yarbrough. And it really, if there's any book that you ever buy that one, because it really explains your soul age, your theme, how old your soul is. The theme we come back with every single time. All your quirks, your what do you call it, the oddities, the things you have passion for, the things you don't have passion for. You can actually really see yourself, and then the people that you're connected to, and why you keep coming together, because we reincarnate with the same core group of either 3, 6, 9, or 12. And they can be in different parts of the world, but eventually you will unite with all of them, It's really kind of cool. So anyway, the next one is a feeling of moving fast, like you're accomplishing more in a shorter period of time. You might have a physical rush of energy as well, the sensation. You find yourself on a Friday feeling as if a month has passed instead of a week, So you get a lot more done for some reason, which is really kind of cool. The next one, the world around you literally stops as if it were a film. And, I got to say something. Back in the 70s, I tried pot a couple of times, and I hated it because I felt like I was watching a movie or a film, and everything kind of stopped. And I thought, I don't like this. This isn't for me at all. But back in the 70s, everybody was doing this. They said, oh, come on, you got to try it at least once. I did, and I couldn't wait for it to wear off because I just didn't like the feeling I got. So the feeling of things stopping for me, I felt like I was completely disconnected from reality, and I never did it again. But anyway, sometimes things, they feel like they stop, or sometimes they feel like they accelerate. So here's some tips to deal with the symptoms, okay? Before we go to break, I'd like to get through these. First and foremost, don't panic, don't overreact, know that this too shall pass. And that's my favorite quotation, is this too shall pass, because it does. Offer yourself the gift of deep breathing, bring your hand to your heart, center yourself, take deep breaths, and trust your process. Choose joy. I actually have that word written on a piece of paper, joy. I put it in my car, I put it in the bathroom, and at one point I even had it in my bedroom up high on the ceiling. So as I opened my eyes, I saw choose joy. And it really made me feel really good. It's a good way to start the day, because a lot of people don't have that. But if you see it and it's around you, it's a good reminder. So I recommend that people print that one. Drink as much fresh and pure water as you can. I mean, it's got a lot of oxygen in it, and that oxygenates every cell. And they found through the research of the University of San Francisco that when a cell is oxygenated and it has lots of, it never dies. But when it starts lacking oxygen, it starts to collapse, which we women call wrinkles. And so if you ever notice smokers, they always have wrinkles around their mouth because there's no oxygen to those. And so they start to collapse. So if you want to live longer, more oxygen, and one of the best ways to get it is drinking a lot of water. Lighten your nourishment too. Ascension energy is light, and a dense diet will conflict with the flow. So a vegetarian diet, of course, makes the transition easier. Even if you only lighten for a few days, like maybe do vegetarian a couple of days a week or 3 days a week, you're going to notice a big difference. And the other thing too, ground yourself. I'm here, I'm ready, I'm open, guide me. By saying those words, you know, I'm here, I'm ready, I'm open, guide me. You feel like you've got, like the universe has your back, or your higher power, or the source has your back. Gift yourself with a gentle movement every day. In other words, you can just take a simple walk. You know, 20 minutes will do it. So I always tell people, don't like to walk. I say, okay, wear a watch, walk 10 minutes away from your house, turn around and walk back. That's 20 minutes, you know, that's easy, right? Okay, yoga is really good too because it stretches your body and it's really, really, I mean, it tightens the core. It's just really good, you know, for us. Allow yourself the connection of moving with the energy because that'll really help as well. And then the last one is breathe deeply while choosing to be grateful. I think gratitude is one of the most important things people forget about. They complain about what they don't have instead of being grateful for what they do have. Also, you know, be aware of that inner child, you know, the energy of the inner child, which is the one that needs to be, you know, nurtured, and you got to trust. And what happens is that this whole process then becomes extremely, extremely beneficial, and you find that it'll be easier. So don't think you're going nuts. These are the, you know, the things that we need to go through. And again, like I said before, if you really want a copy of this, just email me and I will send you the list, because I realize it's a lot to remember. Or if you're taking notes, you probably didn't get everything. You know, we have to look at time frame here. I don't know. I think we have a couple minutes before commercial. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Anyway, from that list, was there anything else that you wanted to, you know, talk about?
Just the food. I've been, say, vegetarian for now 14, 15 years, and I suddenly felt as drawn to become mostly raw. So I went through the phase of just juicing. I did a week of just juice feast, as I call it, just to completely cleanse the system. And after that, I was just really mostly into raw foods. I still do cooked food, but
Yeah.
because I always wanted to shift finally from vegetarian to vegan and eventually raw vegan. That would be my ideal for myself. So I found a big drawn to that at the moment.
That's good. You know, I basically decided, let me switch over to only, like, I don't eat pork, beef. Well, you know, being Mexican heritage here, my mother's from Mexico, I like tacos. And so that's the only time I ever use beef, is ground beef, is when I make tacos. But I always pray before I eat, and I give thanks to the animal who gave its life, and I bless it, which is what the Indians did. And, you know, we're part Apache as well, the mean ones. Have you ever heard of the Apache Indians?
Yeah.
They were the mean ones. Anyway, that part of our heritage has some Apache, you know, Spanish, French, and Mexican as well. So I like that. But you know, what I do is I will take a few days and just do vegetarian, and it makes a difference. There's something also that people need to look into, and that's probiotics. Because there's a lot of bad bacteria in the stomach area and digestive system, and that's what causes a lot of problems. Google the word probiotics and read everything you can about it. And you can take things like probiotics tablets or Keybiotics. What they do is they actually get rid of all the bad bacteria and bring in the good bacteria, and that prevents a lot of people from getting sick or illnesses. It is so dangerous to have so much bad bacteria, and people don't realize it. It's all coming from preservatives. It's coming from what they call, you know, sugar, sucrose, you know, those sweeteners. The worst is, of course, we know is aspartame for that, but also fatty foods as well. And so check into probiotics, because that's one of the things that it will change your life forever. Just get rid of the bad bacteria.
Sorry, Monica, just to add on that, 80% of immune system is in your gut, actually. So it makes sense to take probiotics. It's good for your immune system, digestion, and many other things. But unfortunately, I think we're running out of time, and we shall go for a quick break. So don't forget, we will be taking live calls for the last 30 minutes of the show. So you can call us on 020-3714-2700, and if you are calling from outside of the UK, it's +44 20-3714-2700. See you soon. Welcome back to Right Brain Thinking in a Left Brain World. Today we have a lesson number 5 with Monica Sepulveda of Monica.com, and that's with 2 N's. So Monica,
Yes.
I'm happy to have you here again. It's very nice.
Oh, thanks. Oh my gosh, and now my phone's ringing. I forgot to disconnect it. So, okay.
I'll put it on the loudspeaker. Sorry.
Oh my God, it's one of my clients. Anyway, that's terrible. Okay, I'm gonna have to reach over and get my telephone real quickly.
That's
This is
all right,
live,
darling.
isn't it?
That's perfectly fine. Don't worry, Monica.
This is called live TV. So
Exactly,
it's
so
reality.
everyone can see how live it is, in fact.
Oh my God. Okay. Anyway, all right. I wanted to talk about, one of the ways that I find path, direction, guidance, because a lot of people still aren't connecting to their own intuition. So we need tools to help us, to give us messages, because one of the things I like about life is that you're not hearing that message, are you? One thing about life is that, we sometimes aren't able to get the messages within because we're stressed out. And that's the first thing that disconnects our right brain, is to be stressed out. So I love to use different tools. One of the first tools I love in the morning they're called the angel cards. And the angel cards they're by Doreen Virtue. She actually has several of them. But I like these because it's called Healing with Angels. And I think Martina's got the picture up now of the Healing Angel cards. I wanted you to see what they look like because she has so many different ones. That the Healing with Angels, this is what it looks like. It's got the gold and the blue, and this is the one you want to get because I love the interpretations. I wanted to show you my deck. If you can go back to me, what I like about this is that you don't have to memorize anything because you've got your deck. It comes with a little booklet, and all you do is keep it simple. Always keep it simple. I always believe in just fanning them. You can fan them like this, let me put them on the back side here. Just fanning them on your hand like this, and then just saying, okay, what do I need to know today? Because understand that when you read the book, it gives you different spreads. But I think that makes it too complicated. It's best to do it this way for quite a while so that you can learn to understand what each card means. There's a lot of information on each card. So what I like to do is either fan them like this on my hands or just fan them across the table. And then what I do is I'll say, okay, what's the message for today? So I'm going to pull actually a card for all of us. What's a universal message that we all need to have for today? So I'm being drawn to here. Okay. Sometimes if a card falls out, that's the card that you were supposed to read. Sometimes two cards come out, so read them both. I happen to pick the card, it's called Signs. Okay? And so since the book is alphabetized, all you have to do is just go to the part, and these are very short. They're not very long at all, but it's Signs. And I didn't bring my readers with me. Okay. Okay. Oh my gosh. Okay. You're asked for heaven to help you. Now you understand that heaven is not a literal place.
Exactly.
It just means universe.
Yes.
Okay. It's asking you to allow the universe to help you. Wow. That's really, really important because a lot of people feel like they're doing everything on their own when actually, when we connect to universe, it gives us all kinds of signs. And I think that's what it's telling us. Now it's up to you to pay attention to the evidence of that help. This card signifies that your angels are trying to get your attention with signs. And I don't know about you, but I get signs all the time. And I'm like, okay, thank you. I needed to see that.
All the time. Indeed, all the time, yeah.
Exactly. When you start thinking like that, you start getting more and more signs. So I think this is asking everyone that's watching the show is to start working in tandem with universe, with source, with spirit. Make it a part of your lives, because a lot of people learn a lot of information about spirituality, but it's not about what you know, it's what you do with your life. It's how we live our lives. That's true spirituality. A person can say, oh, I have faith, and as soon as something comes along to test that, they fall apart. They go, oh my God, what if this happens? What if that happens? They start living in the future and getting away from the now. So that's part of manifestation. We'll get into that in a second. So it says, okay, so basically the message here is it says to keep looking for signs from your angels. They are just trying to get through, so please notice. And when you do, it shows a form of respect. And do you want me to pull a card for you at all?
Yes, please do.
Okay. We'll be a little indulgent, won't we?
Yes. Go on.
Well, you're such a great co-host. I really appreciate you.
Thank you,
Okay,
Monica.
we're going to expose you to the world now. Okay, what is the
Oh,
message?
no. Naked.
Okay, here we go. Oh, we got the card. It's called Study.
Study.
And guess what you're doing right now?
I am studying. Every day I'm learning. I constantly am learning. Non-stop.
Okay, so yes, exactly. So I'm just going to look it up real quick just to get the first sentence from it to see if there's anything additional that you need to know about the card Study, because it did come up. Here it is. Okay. This card validates, there you go. It validates that this is an important time for you to learn new ideas or skills. Perhaps you feel guided to enroll in a class, and the card confirms that it confirms that feeling. Boy, if I forgot how small this font is here. I mean, it's tiny. You know, I should have brought my readers, but I didn't. Okay, so what it's doing basically, like you just said, you know, you're reading and you're studying all the time.
Yes.
This card just confirmed it. So that just tells you basically you're right on the path.
Yeah, every time I have a spare minute, when I wake, when I go to bed, when I'm on my way to work, on my way to TV here, all the time reading, learning.
Okay, so you know what? The angels just confirm that you're on the right path. Sometimes the cards will confirm things like it just did. It didn't tell you to study more, it just confirmed that you are studying. Isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
So, and sometimes it actually gives us a solution, you know. I want to tell you that those cards are so simple. Don't complicate it. Just pull one card a day. That's it. Okay? However, we're going into something else, another topic that I absolutely love. It's called the Book of Runes. And the Book of Runes, which should be on the screen now, it's a gray one. This is something that I have been using since the early 80s. This is like a book. It's kind of like a conversation, like you're getting a message from the source. That's how I call it. It's like the source talking directly to us. It is so profound. It is so accurate. And I remember back in 1983, Anessa, when I kept picking the same rune over and over. And if Martina can put up the picture of what the actual symbols look like, I kept getting the same symbol over and over. And oh my gosh. What did I was so mad at that particular message because I kept getting it every single day for like 2 weeks that I finally took the bag and I threw it against the wall and I broke them. You know, because those are all in stones. We'll put up the second book in a second, Martina, but coming back to me, the book comes with a bag and the bag has 25 stones. These stones are very fragile. They're made of a plaster. You can see them.
Yes.
Okay. And you know a little bit about the runes and where they came.
Yes, under the Germanic symbols.
Yes. Yeah, it's their alphabet.
Did they originate in that part of the world?
Yeah. And then they actually ended up in Norway, Sweden, and Denmark, and the Vikings. Yeah, they are. You can see these actual glyphs or the writing all over the world. They're in very sacred places. You see the symbols. Actually, the Nazis started using them too at one time as well because they're Germanic. But what I like about them is that there's 25 of these in here. And what you do is, again, they're going to show you spreads. The book is going to have different spreads. However, this gray one is different from the green book, which I'll cover in a second. This gray one is the universe, space, spirit, the I am, source, God, whatever you want to call it, talking directly to you and giving you exactly what you need to know that day. So even though it has spreads, like regular, like almost like tarot card spreads or picking threes or whatever, you can actually just choose one and say, what do I need to know today? And again, that's the simplest question to ask. So what do our viewers need to know today? So I have this, and I'm going to pull a rune. I picked up this one. Okay, and then all you do is open your book, and in the inside flap of the book, there's all your symbols. So I look for the one that matches that one, and here it is. And what it does is it tells you what page to go to. It's called Harvest. and then you go to page 117. Now, it gives you an extensive interpretation of harvest, but this, I'll just read a little short paragraph. The root of beneficial outcomes, Jira, applies to any activity or endeavor which you are committed to. Be aware, however, that no quick results can be expected. A span of time is usually involved, hence the key word 1 year, symbolizing a full cycle before the reaping of the harvest or deliverance. You have prepared the groundwork and planted the seed. Now you must cultivate with care. To those whose labor has been a long season, a long coming to term, Jira offers encouragement and success. Know that the outcome is in the keeping of providence and continue to persevere. That's a wonderful message for everybody, because a lot of people always ask, well, when's this going to happen? You know, and so this gives you the reassurance that not to worry, be patient. This particular one is talking about a cycle of 1 year, that whatever it is that you've started, it's going to take about a year for it to manifest. So there's a lot of different interpretations. Now with this particular set, some of these runes you might pick, and they might be reversed. You know, that instead of it being upright, like this is an upright, but you might pick it and it's reversed. Well, there's an interpretation for the reversed as well. It's in the book. And so you need to be aware of that as well. So therefore, now you have 50 interpretations for these stones, which is really cool. Now, the green book, which I think Martine has a picture of the green book. It's called the Healing Runes. I bought this as well. The Healing Runes by Ralph Blum and Susan Loffen. I don't know. Anyway, I found out that these were also very important to have, because there's a lot of people that don't know what to do with their emotions. They get stuck emotionally in a funk. And this book is not about the universe talking to you and giving you a message. It's teaching you how to deal with whatever emotion you're in. And I found that sometimes people are in such a bad place that all they have to do is pick one rune every hour, and you follow what the rune tells you to do for that hour, and then after an hour passes, then go back and pick out a second one, and then that gives you the continual message or advice. And you continue to do that until you're completely out of that funky stage, or out of that depression, or out of that anxiety. This book is so beneficial for that type of thing. It comes in its own little green pouch, just like the other one. However, there is no reversed. You read them all upright. They're not. There's no reversed interpretation for them. So, you know what's so weird? Remember the last rune I picked?
Yes.
Look what I just picked from that. It's the same one. I just chose it from this green bag, and it's the same one, but it's going to have a different interpretation. Okay, because remember, this is all about emotions. So oh, guess what? It's so aligned with the first one from the first book that it's like, I'm not surprised, but it's the rune of patience. And what was the last one talking about? It was talking about the cycle of time, a year, to, you know, you plant the seed and you have to let things go through their cycle, which basically is pretty much in alignment with patience. So this would really be helpful for people that are under a lot of anxiety. It's requiring us to show patience in our lives. And so that applies to everybody that's watching this right now, because I did pull this for everyone. So, and it says here, even if you receive difficult or troubling news, know that there's something to be learned from it, and just be patient that it will work itself out. So it's interesting to me that how things are so in alignment. They are so, they're in synchronicity. So we pick a rune from the universe that tells us about harvesting, and then I picked the exact same rune, and I didn't plan this. I just stuck my hand in and pulled the first one out, and it was the exact same one, but it has the interpretation of you know, patience, which is a lot of people, you know, they're not patient with when they make decisions about doing something. I want it now, but you know, when you have to respect patience, because it's kind of like being pregnant and saying, well, okay, I've been pregnant 5 months, I'm done.
You can't step out of it now.
or some people that plant seeds in the ground and then they dig it up the next day and say, oh, how's it doing? You know, you have to leave it alone. You know, okay, oh, there's a shoot. Okay, let me tug on it. Maybe it'll grow faster. Some things we have to respect, and one of those things is timing. So this one about patience is really important. Drawing this rune, you are asked to, you are being asked to show patience in some part of your life. If you are one who has endless patience for others and almost none for yourself, this rune is a reminder. Since the starting place for all healing and recovery is always the self, take time each day to give yourself the gift of patience. Acknowledge and appreciate your own efforts and be grateful for your progress along the path of growing and healing. So, the St. Thomas Aquinas reminds us that patience is a part of courage and that sometimes courage requires us to wait. Isn't that true? I never thought of that before. That, yeah, and a lot of people are so scared, but to me, the definition of courage is being afraid and doing it anyway, and then just letting it go and trusting. So these books have been of great help to me because they have really given me at times when I wasn't able to connect with myself. Like I said, I've owned these books since the 80s. That's a long time. Of course, I broke a set. I had to buy them again because sometimes you don't want to hear the truth.
So Monica, what was that repetitive message that was coming to you, and why the ones you broke, the runes?
Oh, I don't remember because it was like over 30 years ago. It kept telling me, I don't remember which one it was. Thank God I let it go, huh?
No, that's good. That's good. It worked.
Yeah. I don't know. I can imagine that I felt kind of dumb. I remember feeling kind of dumb that I actually threw them against the wall. And I thought, well, maybe I needed to release anger. I don't know. Something. But I ended up having to buy them again, and I'm really glad I did. But they're one of the greatest tools that I have found is buying the runes. There is a set of runes as well for relationships. It's in a red book. And I did buy them, but I gave them away to someone who was really learning about relationships. I didn't like it because the writing on the inside was a red, but it was such a light red, it was really hard to read, for me. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I just gave them to him. And the cool thing is that the stones were also in kind of a red color instead of this plaster. And as a gift one year, and I still have, I didn't bring them with me. They're in, maybe I'll bring them during the break. Someone gave me a set of runes that were made of amethyst. And each of the stones are a natural size stone, and the actual alphabet from the Germanic alphabet, or the glyphs, or whatever you call them, is on each one of them in gold. And so it was real special. I don't like to use those though. For some reason, they're kind of like sacred for me, and I just haven't used them. But amethyst, as you know, is a really wonderful crystal because it does open up the third eye. Intuition. Well, I don't need mine open anymore. It's wide open, so maybe that's why I'm not drawn to them as well. But during the break, I'll go get them just so I can show them to you because they are really pretty, and they come in a little black pouch. One thing about the runes is you don't let anyone use your runes. Once you own your own set, nobody else can touch your bag. If you want to give someone a reading or a message for them, you choose for them, but don't let anyone touch your own runes because you want your energy attached to it. The same with your angel cards. If someone wants you to pick an angel card for them, you pick it for them, but don't let them touch it. They can get their own, So nobody touches these but me. That's also a really good hint as well, because a lot of people go, oh yeah, go ahead and use, pick a rune, see what you get. No, don't do that. You want your own energy connected with it. It makes a big difference. So anyway, the runes have really helped me a lot, but especially the emotional one. I remember times when I was really in this, like after a breakup, yeah. After a breakup, it's hard to cut. Women always tend to go and cocoon, and then they talk to their friends in order to get over a relationship. Mm-hmm. A man gets over a relationship by hooking up with another female, which is called a rebound. And and then someone said, the best way to get over a man is to get under another one.
I think it's never ultimately getting over, because you're just running away from your feelings and emotions that eventually you will have to deal with. So why not deal it immediately?
Exactly. So I like how we girls bond together, but I found that the runes were really helpful when I was overcoming emotions. Another thing that gave me perspective, I remember the most painful breakup I had was back in 1991, and that was a long time ago, but it was a real awful. And I thought, how could I feel any worse? There's people that must be going through things worse. So guess what I watched? I watched a 30-hour TV series all about the Holocaust. And you know what? That broke me out of my own pain. It did. And I pulled these runes and I got my messages, but I saw when I was looking at people suffering in the Holocaust, I went like, what do I have to complain about? I just have a heartbreak. And it was probably in my best interest to get rid of this loser because he was an alcoholic. Duh, what was I thinking, you know? And so, yeah, sometimes when you can really look at what other people's pain is, it's worse. I think I'd rather have mine than theirs. And for me, as you know, Inessa, I went to Auschwitz in October before I went to London. And that brought it all home. It made it very real that, in fact, there's people that have lived hell on earth, and I don't live on hell on earth. And so you can't let little things get to you like that. But when you do, it becomes very real, and it can become very powerful if we dwell on it. But, you know, pain was not meant for us to sit with it. It's like something I don't understand. You know, like when you cut your hand, it hurts, but we don't sit there and stare at it. You know, you immediately put a Band-Aid on it, antiseptic, ointment or whatever, something, Banadine, whatever, to heal it. But for some people, they stick with pain and analyze it to death. Pain is not, the purpose for pain is not to sit there and figure out why you're in pain. The key is to, what is the lesson here? What am I missing? What do I need to learn? Because otherwise we place ourselves as victims, and we're not. There's actually just lessons. And even the hardest things that I've had to go through, because people think my life is so peachy keen because I know how to manifest things. I've gone through really hard stuff, Inessa, really difficult things that, you know, I don't even want to talk. It'll be in my book when I write about it, but it's just that, no, I've had lots of highs and a lot of lows as well. So I just tend to be private. And when I get to those lows, you ask for the lesson now. Instead of being a victim, like I was raped. Why was I being held? And I was held hostage, and I was raped repeatedly. Why did that happen to me? So instead, I go, okay, what is the lesson here? And I was able to connect it with the past life. So a lot of times it carries over, and we will have a class on past life and reincarnation because it's really interesting to find out more about yourself. You know, for that. Well, you were going to say something. I'm sorry, honey, I interrupted you.
Yeah, I was just going to say that most of the people, well, everyone can connect with you saying that actually we all actually have these hard times, just at different times, but most of the lessons actually quite similar to what we as humans experience. Obviously, not everyone's going to be raped in their lifetime, but they will have one hardship or the other.
Yeah. We all go through the same thing at different times, you know, and one of the things that I like about that is that it keeps us human. I think if our life was always happy-go-lucky, that's kind of like we wouldn't have empathy or compassion. And I think that when we go through difficulties, it helps us understand other people. So when I have clients that come in and they've been raped, you know, they've been raped as well, I'm able to align with them, but I'm also able to really connect with them to find out where that came from. Because I don't like anything that has to do with feeling like a victim. I always say, okay, you know, why, what do I have to learn? And so I come from a place of not why did this happen to me, but why did this happen for me? That's different, you know? And so I look at the lesson and it always goes back to the way I feel about myself. Maybe I've been too hard on myself. Maybe I felt inadequate. Maybe I felt a sense of insecurity, self-doubt. It usually ends up being one of those. And so we usually attract a person that is the exaggerated form of that maybe abandons us, and that usually tells us that we're abandoning ourselves because we're putting everybody before ourselves and we're not taking care of ourselves. So actually, when we start looking at connecting those kinds of dots, we start realizing that we attract who we are, not what we want. And that's how we know how to make the shifts and how to make changes in our lives. But all these tools that I use, and I have other tools as well, but these are my three favorites, the runes and the angel cards. Because they really gives us a way to start the day, and you want to do it first thing in the morning. So I keep mine right where I can see them, you know, in my living room, so I can immediately remember, pull the rune, get your guidance for today. It gives you a place to focus on, and then it also it gives you a really good message. Another tool I think I told you about is a wonderful website. It's called TUT.com, like King Tut, TUT, but it stands for Totally Unique Thoughts. And if you go to, you know, TUT.com and fill out the little form, and it asks you for your goals, it asks you for your first name, it asks you for things that you would like to have in your life, which is going to go into our next part of the lesson, manifestation, and reading. Oh yeah, we're going to talk about reading auras, aren't we? I forgot about that. We're going to talk about reading auras. Yeah, we're going to do that one next. Okay, so what I like about these tools is it really does set the tone for the day. But TUT.com, it's a free subscription. You go in there and write out everything that you would like in your life, and then they send you a customized email every morning. And that's the first one I read. It's called Message from the Universe. And again, it's like the source talking directly to us. That is absolutely a wonderful. Anessa, if you haven't done that, would you do that this week?
Okay.
Okay, and then let us know what your thoughts are about that, because some of them are so profound. I get the chills because I'm like, how do they know? How do they know that this is exactly what I needed to hear today? It's so creepy sometimes. And I mean, I've been doing this work forever. I mean, since I was 16 years old, I was picking up messages, and 12 years old, I was seeing images and angels and everything appearing. But I still get blown away at this stuff. I think this is why I love my work so much, because I still am like a child. I get so affected by these things. Even my dad, who passed away about 14 months ago, he's connecting to me, and he's funny. The way, I think I told you what happened at the grocery store.
I think you have, yeah, but you can repeat again because not everyone heard it.
Yeah, I know, it was too much. My dad's always with me, and for a very good reason. But I went grocery shopping, and I needed to buy some herbs, and I needed to buy mint, specifically mint. So I was picking up the vegetables I needed to make this soup. It's called albóndiga soup in Spanish, which means meatball soups. And so I was walking away from produce, and the lady behind me just said, "Oh, did you see that?" And she yelled it out loud, and I turned around and said, "What?" She goes, "These herbs threw themselves at me." And herbs, I mean, anything that falls off a shelf because of gravity, it falls straight down. But she was standing like 4 feet away, and she said that they were thrown at her, and I didn't see it because my back was to her. And I said, "Oh, that's probably my dad. He probably threw them at you because I was leaving, produce, and I needed to pick up mint, and I couldn't find it." I said, "I didn't do anything. If you pick up the herbs, it'll probably say mint, and if they say mint, that's my dad." And she picked up, and she goes, "Oh my gosh." She goes, "They're mint." And she hands them to me. She goes, "Your dad helps you like that?" I said, "You have no idea." I said,
wow, that is so cool.
I said, "Yeah, thank God we weren't in the section where they had tomato soup cans or something."
Oh no.
We're out. But he does a lot of things like that. My dad is constantly things that might be misplaced or whatever, he brings them back. He knows how to dematerialize and materialize things, and it's kind of fun. So anyway, we probably need to go to break, right?
We do. And well, just a reminder, we are live right now with Monica Sepulveda, a brilliant intuitive therapist, medium, and numerologist. Don't forget, you can call us at the end of the show on 0203 714 2700. See you after the break. Welcome back to Right Brain Thinking in a Left Brain World. Lesson 5 with Monica Sepulveda of Monica.com. Monica, welcome back.
Thank you, Anessa. You know what? I decided to talk about how to manifest and create your best life because this is shorter and I want to spend a little more time on auras. So a lot of people say, how do you manifest? Is there a secret? I said, actually, no, it's very easy to manifest. And things are manifesting much faster these days, where before, back in the 70s and 80s, it took a longer time for us to manifest things. We can manifest positive or negative based on what we're thinking. But, to be able to manifest, it's not a hoping or wishing that's going to make it happen. It's knowing. So what you do is follow these simple rules. And I've used it every single time, and every single time it works. See what it is that you want to manifest. Visualize it, because pictures speak 1,000 words, and that's one of the best ways to communicate with the universe. So you can take something mundane. Let's say you need a new car. Visualize the kind of car you want. Be specific with it. But then when you're seeing it, smell what it smells like being in there. Look at the texture, look at the color, and make sure that you see yourself in the car, because otherwise your neighbor may get the new car instead of you. So you just want to associate to that. So what you do is visualize it, and don't have a time frame on it. Just know that you're going to get it. It's the not wishing or hoping. It's the knowing that makes a difference. Anytime I've manifested anything, I just knew it was going to happen. So it takes a lot sometimes for people to to get there. And as I've taught before, a lot of times you can actually ask for a symbol. Pick something unique. For me, my symbol has always been the pink car. So if I ever needed reassurance, I just say, okay, if this is if this is meant to happen for me, because I really want it, I want to see a pink car by 6 o'clock tonight. And you pick a time. And if I see it, then I know that the answer is yes. And then it gives me a sense of relaxation and reassurance as well. You could also use your runes for yes and no questions, because you pick up like 3 runes, and if they come up right, the answer is yes. If you have, let's say you pick 3 of them, 2 of them are facing a reversed position or down, and 1 is up. That means that the answer is no, but it could turn into a yes later. If you get 3 of them down, or even take 1 rune and pick it, and if it's reversed, that's a no. If it's upright, that's a yes. A lot of times people do that with, let's say, coins. Heads is yes, tails means no. A lot of people have done that one, including myself. But the runes also work for that as well. So there's nothing wrong with getting a little bit of reassurance, but one of the things that I know is that you have to know that this is going to happen. And then don't become attached to timing. It happens at the right time. I call it divine timing. So if I feel anxious about anything, I just say, wait a minute, divine timing. And then for some reason, I find comfort in that divine timing. It makes you feel good.
It does.
So, I've used it because you can ask for anything. It's like the universe doesn't give a shit what you ask for. It doesn't care if you plant peas in your garden or roses or carnations or beans or corn. It doesn't care. It just grows whatever it is that we choose, because we have free will, and that's the way it is with our own thoughts. It will empower whatever it is we are constantly thinking about in our own head. So when I look at a picture, I look at it one time, and I read something from TUT.com, the website I was just talking about, totally unique thoughts. I got a message, and the message was, here's how to manifest. Ask me one time, and then be grateful every day after that. And so that's what I do. I see it before it happens, and I give thanks before it happens. So when a person needs more money in their life, and that's the case with a lot of people these days, what you do is just say, I give thanks today for any extra money, any extra ways of receiving it, because it can come to us in many, many ways. It doesn't necessarily come to us sometimes in cash. Sometimes people win things, like they win a trip, and it's all paid for, So you have to look at all these little things that people call miracles. I call them normal, because miracles we should have them every day. It should be our normal, and that's what my signature, when people email me, I email them back, and it says, believe in miracles. They are normal. They should be a normal way of life, not extraordinary. It should be normal. So when I manifest something, I just know it's going to happen. There's only been one manifestation that hasn't happened yet. And notice that I say yet.
Which is?
I'm going to meet Paul McCartney.
Okay.
I was a Beatle fan from the time I was 14 years old. And that's been that's been in my head. I actually, saw myself at age 14, visualizing myself at their concerts, and I did go. I went to the very last one in 1966 at Candlestick Park in San Francisco, and I still have my program from that. Can you imagine what that's worth? Anyway, I'll find a way. Believe me, I've had a lot of signs already that it's going to happen. So I'm just letting it happen when it's going to happen. I mean, it's kind of a silly request for some people. But one of my visualizations was actually going to England and crossing Abbey Road, which I done it twice already, and that's a simple one. So they can be anything from needing more money, but what you want to do with money is, like my mother and I, she's such a positive influence. Every time we say goodbye, we don't just say goodbye, we end the conversation with miracles, miracles, miracles. And so now she changed it as of like a week ago. Now she says, no, new miracles. And so what that means is I'm expecting new miracles in my life. And this morning I opened up a letter that I got from a client. And he actually is writing a screenplay for a film. And he wants me to be the consultant to teach him, because he's going to have a psychic in the movie. Me as a consultant for his film. so I can teach him, what is correct and what's, because there's a lot of these movies that have bogus things like, these palm readers with all these, candles and all these beads and everything and turban or whatever. To me, that's all bullshit stuff. It's like, I'm so down to earth. I don't have any of that. So, he wants some information. So I was asked to be a consultant, and I called my mother. I go, just had a new miracle today. So when you say things like that, like miracles, even in a phone conversation, people will kind of look at you first and just say, no, that's because I expect miracles today.
And that's so cool, Monica. I really like that approach. Also, there's another quote or affirmation that I really like is, everything I need comes to me in the divine time-space sequence, bringing back that divine time, space, and sequence, like, so that you receive everything that you need exactly in the time that you actually need.
Perfect. That's a wonderful affirmation. There's so many, I really get inspired by quotations, and so I'm constantly looking for quotations. Guess where I find them? I find them on Twitter, actually, and then I end up like 2 nights ago I put up 20 different quotations and people were retweeting them. I love saving those. They come in picture forms, and they have the most beautiful words, and I get inspired by those. And quotations are free. You can find them all over. One of my books is going to be about that, as a matter of fact, but I'm not going to talk about that now. Anyway, so we want to create our best life, and the best way to do that is to expect a miracle and know that it is just normal. But also, it's when we talk to ourselves, because a lot of people go into doubt. Well, what if it doesn't happen? What if this, you know what I mean? They go into the left brain again, analyzing, and the key to manifesting and having it all is to know that it's going to happen. So for me, interestingly enough, I've met a lot of famous people because, silly me, I had nothing better to do. I didn't have any children, never been married. I'll find someone, a partner someday, some nice guy, to spend time with, but I don't think marriage is in the cards for me. I'm not traditional that way. But for some reason, I focused on, I want to meet some famous people, because I realize that they're just normal. They're just in a particular profession where they have a lot of visibility. But when you see that they're just normal people, I've met a lot of them. And it's because I visualized it. And I in my mind, okay, this is what I'm going to do, because ideas come to your mind to make it happen. And that's why you want to stay open intuitively, because you will get ideas of how to make that happen, and all you do is follow through. Don't argue with your intuition ever, because it doesn't know how to lie. Anyway, I wanted to teach about aura reading, because a lot of people are interested in reading auras. You can see the auras either outside or in your head, subjectively or objectively. You can see them either way. And so one of the things that we did, we went into our laboratory, we worked we looked at the monitor, remember, we went through all the colors?
Yes.
When you practice doing that, by the way, that's lesson number 6. Hopefully that'll be on YouTube soon. Lesson number 6 is one you don't want to miss, okay? Because that one had to do with the mental laboratory, which is the place that you go in order to create magic, basically. I call it Monica magic, because that's where things happen for me. That's the starting point. And when I go there and create it there, then I just let it happen. But that would be lesson number 6. Hopefully it'll be on YouTube soon. With aura reading, it's really interesting. Martina has some pictures to show of one of the best ways to start learning how to read auras. And that is by putting your hand over some white paper, and then you just stare at it. Now, the picture has very light, like a bright light, but it actually works better under dim lighting. So I recommend that people use either a blue light bulb or a red light bulb and put it behind you so that you're not looking at a light bulb, or to actually light a candle and put it behind you as well. And then when you're looking at your hand on that piece of paper, you start looking at, I think there's a second one. You can start seeing a little light around your hand. If you get tired of holding that paper, just tape it to a wall and then put your hand in front of it. If you want to look at other people's auras, you have them stand against the wall and look around them. And in picture number 3, where you can see the hand and you can see the light around it, it looks like a glow. I always tell people to look for the glow that looks like a candle, like when you're looking at a candle, it's got like a little glow around it.
Yeah.
That's what you want to look for when you're looking at your own hand. And it's interesting that she's using a blue wall to see that. So that's how you can look at your own, aura. But at first, it's going to look white. And then as you start looking and develop seeing your colors, you're going to start seeing colors. So it comes to you, first of all, you see like that one little bright light, and then you start seeing layers, and there's typically 3 layers in an aura. The first layer around an aura, which people back in the day used to call halos, isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
The first layer is what a person's going through right now. And we look at, like last week we used our list that had to do with colors, remember?
Yes.
And we start to learn what each color is all about, the color interpretation. And so when you start seeing colors, the first thing you see when you read an aura is usually like an off-white, and then you start seeing yellow, then you start seeing blue, interestingly enough, that comes next, and then the other colors start to come in. You start to see the greens, and you start to see the reds, and you start to see oranges and stuff. And again, last week I had a list of the color interpretations, and if anybody wants a copy of that, just email me and I'll send you that piece of material that I use, because it's always good to know what each color means. So as you start to look at your aura, you'll notice you start seeing layers. And one of the cool things that I've told people before, especially if you're using a blue light or a red light, put your hands, like this far apart, and then start moving them in, and you'll start to feel an energy shift. You can even do that right now, Inessa. You can actually start farther out and bring them close together little by little, very slowly, and all of a sudden you're going to feel an energy shift. And you'll feel it feels kind of bouncy.
Yeah, it does.
It feels bouncy.
It does.
And doesn't it?
It does.
Okay, that's when your aura is touching your aura from here to here. And then when you have a blue light or a red light, you can actually see electricity going from fingertips to fingertips, which is really cool to watch that. And I see that more so when I use a blue light rather than the red light. Were you going to say something, dear?
I was actually, when I was 11 or 12 years old, that's when I started doing this exercise, but I wasn't using the paper. I was using sky. I would just put my hand up like, in a clear sky bit and use it instead of the paper, and started, seeing these kind of glowing white. I never passed the stage to see the colors, but I was seeing this, the field, like the white around my hands, and I was doing all this, and then looking at the, this field around fingers, hands, and all, and around people as well. I kept on doing that, yeah. Exactly.
I was just going to talk about that, Inessa, because let's say you take a class and there's a teacher in front of you. If that person is standing in that one place for a long period of time, sometimes our eyes get a little bit tired. So when I tell people, when they start looking at their own hand or looking at someone else, to squint your eyes a little bit so your eyes don't get dried out, because you don't want to keep blinking. You just want to kind of squint them like this and just stare. You can actually see it even better. And so what happens is, if your teacher is standing there, or you go to a lecture or whatever, and then all of a sudden when the teacher moves, if you look back to where they were standing before, you'll actually see the outline of them. Their own aura stays where they were. Even though they moved over here, you'll still see their form over here, because that's their energy. And you can see that. It's really kind of a trip when you pay attention to that. Just, oh yeah, I've never noticed that before, but yeah, you can see their energy. The cool thing about reading other people's auras is that, and when I teach that class and I have people, and we actually, have people volunteer and go up, guess what happens? The people in the audience start seeing other spirits appearing next to them. And they're able to identify them, because they start receiving intuitive messages like, you know what, your grandmother's here. Your grandmother on your mother's side who passed away, and they can describe the person. Even though they might see it in their mind and see the form on the outside, you'll get more detail in here, and they'll start talking about it, and the person standing up that's getting their aura read will say, yes, I did lose my maternal grandmother, and that's exactly what she looks like. And that gives us a hint of who's guiding us and who's with us, because they show up when we do aura reading like that. They definitely show up. Guess what else?
Sorry,
Yes.
Monica, but how do you know when it's really someone real, or when it's those not so very positive entities pretending to be your loved ones that have passed away? Like, how do you tell? Because I know many times some negative forces try to pretend to be the good ones by saying, giving you all these impressions that it is your grandmother or your...
Okay, well then you're watching The Exorcist. It's bullshit. First of all, you have to stay in the light. in my reality, there is no room for duality. You either stay in the light and in love and you're protected. And I always surround myself in a white light of protection and a pink light of love. Always. Nothing is allowed to come into my home, my space, my neighborhood, unless it's of the light. So anything dark cannot, it cannot live within that lightness. So I let go of duality a long time ago, which means there's no room for worry, there's no room for fear, there's no room for anything like that. As soon as you buy into that, just like people that cast spells, if you believe in that, it's going to happen. So, you know, remember what it says, it's done unto you as you believe. That is a fact. So I don't go there. I don't ever question anything. I know that what comes through is always from the light and it's from the source. So for me, I don't even go there. It's not even a thought in my head. But I'm glad you asked the question because
many people might think that question. So I thought viewers might have that question, for example.
You make a very good point because, like I said, there's a lot of people that think that. Get out of duality. Go into oneness. When we're in oneness, that's when, like David Icke says constantly, everything else is an illusion. The only reality is love. And when you focus on that, that means you're into oneness. There is no duality. So when things happen to us, a lot of times they're testing to see, in fact, how strong we are. And it allows us to use it like a measuring stick to see how far we've come. Or where before I would have fallen apart, now I can handle this easy. Because, you know, free will is not only choosing what we want, but choosing how to react to what happens as well. So when you're reading someone's aura and you see an entity that appears, sometimes that entity, it may not be from this planet. It can be from someplace else. And guess what else happens? Is as you watch a person's aura and you stare at their face, it actually starts to disappear. It almost feels like they're one-dimensional and like their entire body disappears, and then they come back into focus, but their face is different. They have a different face. Guess what? Their past lives are coming through.
That's what I thought, Monica. Always when I look at a person for a longer period of time, when I focus at them, I start seeing all these different faces, and I'm just thinking to myself, what did I see? And I never really discussed this with anyone, so I never got that kind of answer. So you think it's past lives coming through?
I don't think it is. I know it is.
Okay.
Because what happens is when I see that past life, and, you know, we're going to cover past lives and reincarnation in another, you know, but this is one of the ways to see that. I have other techniques to find out your past lives. Some of them are really intense, very intense, in fact, but I'm not going to talk about those now. We're talking about auras. But that's one of the ways to be able to see past lives with other people. You will see that everything, like their entire body, especially from the neck up, it turns black, and then it comes back and you see a different face, and you'll say, oh my God, I see this old woman, blah, blah, blah. And guess what's so weird is that my newest students that sit there and watch all of this, they're able to get details. And like they'll see a person that was, let's say, as a hypothetical, they see a person with a noose around their neck, which is showing that perhaps they were hanged in a past life. And they'll say, yeah, I'm told that you hate turtlenecks. And the person standing there will say, yeah, I don't like anything around my neck, especially turtleneck sweaters that come up really high. I just freak out. It makes me feel like I'm choking. And so that past life revealed why they don't like those turtlenecks, because that person sitting in the audience who's a brand new student got that information. So it's very valuable because it's kind of therapeutic, don't you think?
Oh yeah, I was always very curious to find out about my past lives.
Oh my gosh, that I could do that easily. You know, I had a
well, Monica, I'll hold you to that.
Well, the thing is that we'll have to have a talk on Skype sometime.
Yeah, we should.
She give you a proper session here. You know, I don't like to reveal too much about you or myself. I think our private lives need to stay private, but sometimes I do reveal a few things, you know. Anyway, you know, what happens is that the past lives for me, they reveal so much about the person that it helps them heal, because we are a sum total of everything we've ever experienced. So reading auras has more benefits. So let's go on to the second layer. The second layer. There's 3 layers, remember. The first one tells you what's going on right now. So if I saw an aura and it was yellow, but it was really muddied, it had some brown running through it, and it wasn't a clear yellow, I know that that's the emotional center. This is the, you know, the abdominal region, and I know that that's the area that has to do with our emotional center. And when I see it muddy, that tells me that that person has had a really, really tough emotional week. And so that's why that band of color is very close to the head, because that's what they're going through right now. When I look at the second band of color, that tells me what they went through a week ago. So I can tell them, oh, okay. So if I saw the color blue and it was a clear blue, that lets me know that they've been receiving a lot of ideas, that they had been, let's say, opened up more. If I see indigo or whatever, which has to do with the third eye, that they were maybe more in touch with their intuition, but then their emotions sabotaged them this last week. So when I look at the third band of color, that tells me what happened 2 weeks ago. You could actually go up to 3 weeks and see what's been going on. And I can tell a person, wow, you had a really bad argument 3 weeks ago. It was with a male person, because I see all this red in your aura, and it's really angry red. It's like it's got, again, anytime you see a color that's got a lot of black and brown and it's muddied, that's the negative interpretation of the color. When it's really clear, it's the positive. Okay, so the person that I see with a lot of red, maybe they maybe they had great sex, you know, it's really passionate, you know. So what I do is I teach people how to cleanse the aura, because you can cleanse your own aura or other people's auras. And what you do if you want to cleanse someone else's aura, and I talked about this last week a little bit when we spoke about healing, is you have the person sit in a chair in front of you and just start combing, like pretend that your fingers are a comb, and you just start combing the aura. You don't have to touch them, but just start going like this with your hands and just combing all that old energy, especially if you sense that there's a lot of muddy colors. You pull those out, and then what I do with my fingers is I go like this. And when I'm done, I start with the top of the head, I work my way down the chest, the arms, the back. Sometimes I feel a cold spot, and when I feel a cold spot, they need healing there. And that's what I do, is I take my right hand and put it over that area where I feel the coldness, and I put the left hand behind them. So it's kind of like, let's say a person sitting like this, their front and their back, I put my hands like this. And then I continue to cleanse the aura, and if I hit another cold spot, I'll stop there and send healing as well. So the cleansing of the aura doesn't take that long, really. It's 5 to 10 minutes. We can also cleanse our own aura, which I've done before, and I just basically go like this, and you can feel a weird sensation too. Like if you put your hand right here, Inessa, and start going like this, can you feel a weird sensation when you do that?
Pulling.
Pulling.
Kind
yeah.
of. Yeah.
Actually, it makes me feel kind of nauseous when I do that, because I'm too close. Yeah. I'm like, my aura is hitting my aura, and I can feel like someone's actually hitting me over the head. So I have to go out a little farther and do it like this, you know. So cleaning your own aura is always a good idea, because it's a good way to get rid of that negative energy. And, you know, there's so many tools and so many things that we can use. There's no reason why people need to stay upset or angry or depressed. There's so many ways to get out of that, you know, because again, pain was not created for us to stay with it. That's called suffering. When people stay with pain too long, that's called suffering. And like I was talking about earlier, if you cut yourself, you don't sit there and stare at it. You do something about it. You take care of it with a Band-Aid and ointment. When we have emotional pain, people stay with that emotional pain, and that's called suffering. No, that's one of the things I really like about men. Men don't sit with pain very long. They find a way to get out of it. Women sit with it longer because they analyze too much. So the key is, okay, this is how I'm feeling. I'm going to honor those feelings. I'm going to learn from them, and I'm going to let them go. So when they come to visit around, it's just part of us. Sometimes they're stuck in the nook and crannies, and we just need to let them come out and just, oh, okay, I guess this was within me because it's coming out now, because it does. A lot of stuff comes out from even maybe 10 years ago that was repressed. So you have to honor the emotions. You don't want to push them back down, because when we push them back down, they're just going to come back up again. I mean, the body doesn't want it because it's toxic. It's acidic. Just like we eat improper foods that become acidic, emotions can be very toxic and acidic as well. And we all know that when we have too much acid in our system, that really creates a lot of diseases. It really explains why people get sick, is the acidic and the bacteria and all the stuff. It's just really important to always appropriately let go. Have you ever heard of people that only have two emotions? They're either partying or they're getting really pissed off.
I think I've met a few of those.
Yeah, people that that only show anger, like women have told me about being in relationships with men who only show anger, but they can't be vulnerable and show anything else. It's because they don't know how to get rid of the others. Do you know that anger, this is the way it escalates. You have an emotion, it's called hurt. And then we don't deal with the hurt, it becomes anger, because we need to get rid of it. If we don't get rid of anger, it turns to depression. And then people think that they have chronic depression, and what do they start doing? They start taking prescription antidepressants. because they need to start releasing serotonin and dopamine, when you can actually do that yourself by processing the emotions appropriately and getting rid of them, acknowledging them, and then converting them. Don't sit there and send out negative energy to the universe. Convert it just by charging it with love and then releasing it. And guess what? The brain starts releasing those happy juices once again. Really easy. So we have no excuse, none whatsoever, to stay in a state of mind for a long period of time that we end up suffering. Because at that point, it's our choice. And if we're choosing to suffer, that's a form of martyrdom, which for me is not okay.
No. And Monica, it's time for another commercial break, so please stay with us. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Right Brain Thinking in a Left Brain World. It's lesson 5 today with Monica Sepulveda of Monica.com. Sorry. Well, it's time for callers. It
is. And Inessa, I guess you can give out the numbers, but I wanted just to make one other point before we take our first call. But you let me know when we have a caller, and I'll go to them immediately. Okay. So if you want to give out the numbers, I think it might be on the website, right?
Sorry, yes, I will give out the number. So you can call, sorry, I have this coughing, tickly thing in my throat now. So,
someone get her some water.
Yeah, it's okay, I just had some, it's all right. So you can call us now with your questions to our resident intuitive therapist, medium and numerologist, Monica. If you are calling from UK, the number is 020-3714-2700. If you are calling from abroad, sorry, it's +44 20-3714-2700.
You know, one of the best ways to get rid of the tickle in the throat, and I learned this from a doctor, it really works well, is that, you know, just have always ice water next to you. And when you get that tickle, you drink ice water and it'll numb that area, because the more you cough, the more you get rid of that cilia, which is that little fine hairs. And every time people are coughing, they strip them down. And so they try to keep growing back, and as it grows back, it tickles. So you want to be able to let them grow back, and the best way is to numb your throat. So always have like lozenges that have zinc in them, and also have ice water. So when you're ready to cough, you drink the ice water, it numbs the area, and you don't cough, and that'll help the cilia grow up faster. That's why a lot of people have a hard time getting rid of that lingering cough that can last up to 2 months. Oh. I wanted to talk about something before we moved on, because I was talking about miracles. Yeah. And, you know, I was originally raised Catholic until the nuns told me that it was time to leave the church, because I was way ahead of it. You know, I was 19, and they said, you need to leave the Catholic Church. You know too much. So anyway, one of the things I held on to from the Catholic Church is that I've always believed in archangels, angels, and saints. And so there's just like 4 of them. And there was one that I specifically have been drawn to, because it's always worked, is St. Jude. And St. Jude is called the miracle worker. And a lot of times people go through such terrible things, you know, where they need to pray. And I always say, you know, pray to St. Jude. And I do have the prayer. If anybody wants a copy of it, I'd be more than happy to email it to you. You say the prayer 9 times, you know, for 9 days. So it's a total of 81, which is a number of completion, because 9 is always a number of completion. But what I do is I say that prayer, and then I light a candle, because here we have candles that have pictures of the different saints. And so I buy a candle that says St. Jude, and I ask for what it is that I need. It's not for me. Usually I pray for somebody else, and it's never failed. My cousin Sally was pregnant with her daughter Jaden and gave birth at 5.5 months. That child shouldn't have survived, but all of us, our entire family, we all did the St. Jude prayer and lit the candle, and Jaden just turned 21 years old. And there's no brain defects, there's nothing wrong with her. She shouldn't have been normal. So that's one of the things I've used it for, but I use it for other things as well. I mostly use it for other people, especially for illnesses and stuff. St. Jude's prayer never, ever fails. So if you want a copy of that, just let me know, and I'd be more than happy to share it with you, because it does work. And if you can find the St. Jude candles, by all means, you know, purchase them, because you just light it. It's in a glass jar, and just leave it. It's safe. You don't have to turn it off. It'll run for about 4 days straight. And I do the St. Jude prayer in the morning, and I have these little beads that have 9, and I just count them, 9, and then the next morning I do it again. If you skip a day, you really unfortunately have to start over again, because it's got to be done every day. So I wanted to share that with you. I don't know if we have a call yet or not, but if not, let me know.
We do have, Monica. I just wanted to remind the viewers a few guidelines that if they call in, we will need your first name and your birthday. And obviously your specific question. And Monica will spend at least 10 minutes with each caller, so we'll only be taking 3 or 4 callers, but they will get an in-depth reading which carries more value. So since each of us go through the same things at different times in our lives, I think most of the information will resonate with each and one of us. So yes, I think we are ready for, are we ready for first caller? Okay, we're waiting for first caller. Okay, then I think we do have a first one, and it's Joanne. Her date of birth is 10th of January 1975. She wants to ask about her weight loss. Sorry, my water cure got stuck. We are very live. Joanne, are you here?
Hello.
Hello.
Hi, Joanne. You know what? The first thing I thought of for you when I was writing down your name is I thought, wow, this girl is so brilliant. She's such a leader. She does everything so well, but she's so hard on herself. And it's kind of like food for you has become a way of sedation. It really calms you down because you put 1,000% into everything that you do. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yes, that's true. Yeah, this is Monica.
Yeah. And so you're most hardest on yourself. And what happens is that brings your stress level so high up that all of a sudden you're going to start craving a lot of carbs, which do have a sedative effect. It calms us down. I would prefer that you start using some deep breathing and maybe have a whole bunch of snacks in your house that are healthier that you can use instead of, choosing. For you, what I'm getting is don't go on a diet. Actually have your carbs in the daytime, and at nighttime go more towards your proteins and your salads and your fruit. Not too much fruit late at night, though, because it can prevent you from sleeping. So diets don't work for you. But I think that the biggest problem is that I'm seeing that you're just way too hard on yourself. You're overly critical of yourself. And so I think when you go into complete acceptance, it's just going to start to melt off for you. I'm also feeling that you're pretty fed up at this point. You're sick and tired of it. And, you're in the 9th cycle of 9 years, which means it's time to end the things that have been bothering you, the things that have been sabotaging you, and to let go and implement some new behaviors. So your timing is perfect for this. You're going to find a lot of change in this time frame for you. Looks like it's going to be in the springtime. Yeah, okay, I'm seeing it in the springtime. You need to look at things slowly and not look at, let's say if a person has a certain amount that they want to lose, chunk it down to the smaller increments so that your body gets used to, losing weight. A lot of times people lose a lot of weight and then they gain it back because the body hasn't acclimated and the brain hasn't acclimated to that new, weight. They think that you're actually starving it, so you have to eat. For you, I think eating every couple of hours would be really, really good. It's like I think, Joanne, if I'm correct, this is what I hear you thinking. Gosh, I do everything so well. Why can't I conquer this?
Yeah, probably, yeah.
Yeah, and it's like because you think you can't. And I think that implementing new behaviors for you is the way to do it. And again, when I talk about healthy snacks, I think that a lot of times when we're under stress, we need what I call aggressive foods. Aggressive foods are the ones that crunch. They have a crunch. So people they go for those crisps. Here we call them chips. They go for crisps. They go for things that crunch like that. They're actually they have a lot of preservatives, a lot of fat, but they're so yummy. So what you want to do is maybe make some kale crisps. So you just buy kale and you put them in the oven with a little bit of sea salt and snack on those because those are really crunchy. Other things I like to snack on too would be like I get maybe a little bit of celery and some carrots and crunchy vegetables, and I have a tray of those. And I let myself indulge in having, for me, I like to use salsa because salsa doesn't have any calories at all. I go up and down the scale too, as well. And it's one of those things that you just have to make choices, but you cannot completely do away with everything. You have to give yourself one day a week where you allow yourself to have exactly what you've been craving. Not to go crazy with it, but let's say you've been really wanting to have some good pasta. Well, choose a Saturday, and say, okay, on Saturday, I'm going to eat what I want. I've been craving pasta, so I'm going to have pasta on Saturday. If I've been craving chocolate, I'll have chocolate on Saturday. So you do this 6 days a week, you stay on your plan, but one day a week you must give yourself the things that you've been craving, because you can't just do away with it. You know what I mean? It's kind of crazy because that's when we feel deprived. So I think the switches that you have to make is your thoughts about yourself. Make sure that you are putting yourself at the top of your priority list. Don't be hard on yourself. Don't criticize yourself, because that's not good, because it's going to take away a lot of the joy. The fact that you are a brilliant person, you are a brilliant person, end of subject. That's it. Don't go into any other kind of self-diagnosis and saying, oh my God, why can't I do this? Why can't? Of course you can. It's just making really wise choices. And again, for me, choosing aggressive foods really does the trick. I am addicted to popcorn, which is not really that great, because I tend to get organic popcorn and then I melt real butter. Doesn't make sense, but I'll let myself have that, like on a Saturday night or something. So, Joanna, did that help you, or did you need anything else?
No, that's been great. Thank you so much.
Thanks for calling.
Thank you, Joanne. Thank you, Joanne. And I believe we have our next caller. Evelyn, are you there? Let's see if Evelyn is here with us.
Hello.
Hello, Evelyn. And her date of birth is 25th of February, and she is wondering what she should do next in her life.
Wow, that's a big question, isn't it?
Yeah, there's so much to say, really. So,
one of the things
in a small way, I could say, should I ask my boss for a rise, for example?
Yeah, I was going to talk about money. How interesting. What I felt for you is this is a really good year for you to actually lay the foundation for more security. Asking for more money is exactly what you need to do, because if we don't ask, we don't receive, right? And so one of the things I've learned to do, especially when you talk to your boss, Evelyn, you're a very smart person. It doesn't take you long to learn something. You can get it pretty quickly. And because you're the kind of employee that people really appreciate because you care. And one of the things you want to make sure is that you point out that you're a person that's win-win. You care about the company, but you also care about yourself. Because we do deserve more, and you don't have to point out all the good things that you do. They already know that. But a lot of people are afraid to ask for a raise, which is crazy. So when people have a fear of asking, one of the things I like to say to them is just go to your boss and just say, I really appreciate that you are my boss. You know what you're doing, and obviously you got to where you wanted to go because you have courage and you have commitment. And I feel I have a lot of those qualities as well. I wanted to ask you for a time frame when I could get a raise, because I feel like I'm adding even more and more to this company and becoming more of an asset. But before I even ask that question, I want to say to you, if you knew that you were a valuable person and that you add to a company, if you were in my shoes, what would you be asking your boss right about now? Would you be asking your boss for a raise as well? What would you do? Because what that's going to do is it's going to put that person in your shoes before they give you an answer like no. They're going to, you're going to give them a compliment. You're a boss for a reason. You're intelligent. You're this and that. It sounds manipulative, but actually, if you come from sincerity, it's actually a very good strategy. And just say, if you're in my shoes, wouldn't you be asking for a raise also? And when you do that, make sure that you're nodding yes, because that also is a subliminal message for them to say yes back to you. Because what are they going to say? No? They're not going to say no. They're going to say yes, because they know that you want to get ahead. They know that you value yourself, and employees like that are hard to come by. So that should help you, Evelyn, get exactly what you want. But I was going to tell you, lay the groundwork, and you can do it by creating that kind of empathy. It works every single time. It's never failed either. So put them in your shoes. Just say, if you were me, wouldn't you be asking for a raise as well? if you know who you are, and they're not going to say no to you. They're not. They just won't. So my time frame for you is springtime, but start asking now. And then, because I remember what I said, manifestation, visualize yourself. Visualize yourself getting a bigger check. See yourself endorsing the back of the check. See yourself maybe being able to buy a few more things for yourself, you know, little things that maybe you didn't purchase before. Start visualizing what you're going to do with that extra money that comes in. When you start doing that, then it's a done deal. You already know you have it. Does that help?
That's great. Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome. Thanks for your call.
Thank you, Evelyn.
Okay.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Great.
One of the things that people would notice is that I'm very solution oriented. I don't just predict. I teach you how to get what you want, because I see the blocks. I don't like to bring up the blocks because that's kind of negative, but sometimes I mention them. I usually go right to solution. If you do A, B, C, and D, this is going to happen. That's the difference between my counseling and a regular, and why I don't call myself a psychic, because yeah, I don't just make predictions. I tell people what they need to do in order to get what they want.
I think that's very good approach, to be solution oriented, not just airy fairy, as they say, psychic. Because
well, you know, one thing I wanted to mention, since you said that just now, it just triggered a thought. My mind works very quickly, and I'm sorry to interrupt you, Inessa, but I just got this thought. One of the best ways to, when you raise your children, a lot of times they come griping, you know, like some people have family week where you sit at the table with your gripes. You know, it's best to teach your children, okay, you have a gripe about something, but I want you to come to the table with your best solution. How do you fix it? Come with a couple of ideas. This way you can bounce them off of each other, and your children are going to start learning how to become solution-oriented. Rather than staying in the problem, they're going to go to the solution. And give them the space to be able to communicate what their best solution is, and then you can compromise from there.
I think that's a very good approach as well. Do you have any callers?
If not, I have something to talk about.
I think we do.
Okay.
We're just getting them ready.
Okay. A lot of people ask me, how do I change a negative person? You know, because they're on a spiritual path, but maybe their partner isn't. And then they sit there and go, you know, why are you reading that stuff? Why are you doing this? Well, you know, I have a little method, and I want to share that when we do have a moment before this day is over with. I want to share how to make that happen, because it works every time also. And so you let me know when we have another caller, and I'll sit here and pick my nose. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, go ahead. You can pick it now. No, sorry. I'm terrible.
Well, you know me, I like to joke around a lot.
Yeah,
anyway,
me too.
So.
Me too.
Yeah. Anyway, so interrupt me when we have the caller. I wanted to talk about. I'm sorry?
I will. Just you can share your experience, and then I'll interrupt you.
How to change a negative person. Easy, easy, easy. We did this with my father, who used to criticize us when we were taking classes. My mother and I, because she's also very intuitive, we studied classes in 1970, 71, 72. Back then it was hard to find teachers, but he used to say, you guys are crazy. What are you wasting your time doing? You know what I mean? It's one of those kind of things. So we would intentionally do things. We would visualize. When my dad fell asleep, this is the best time to change a negative person. When they're sleeping, you start visualizing them and putting thoughts in their mind. And the thoughts you put in their mind is this: you are now open and receptive to new concepts, new ideas, and a better way to live your life. You're now open to being happy. You're now open to having joy in your life, and to have new experiences and positive experiences and getting unstuck. You're so open to getting unstuck. So we would put those thoughts in my dad's mind every night. It took 6 months. But we were doing, on top of that, as we read books, my dad was an avid reader, we would read books, and they were hard to come by back then. You know, the books we found were like from the 1920s and 30s, but we would highlight them, the parts that we thought that he would like to read, because he was such an avid reader that, you know, we would highlight things that we thought that he would like to, we wanted to carry a message across. So we would leave him intentionally on the coffee table, because he always picked up books. And so all of a sudden, as we started programming him, he started picking up the books, and then he asked us, can I go to classes with you guys? And I've used that method for a lot of other things. And if you say that affirmation, believe me, it does work. So we've got another caller?
We do. And it's Faye. Hello?
Hi there.
Hello there. So what is your date of birth and your question for Monica?
My date of birth is November the 9th, 1970. I
Okay.
actually don't know my real birth date. That's just
That's
my
the one
official.
That's the one she's using, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
so it's the 9th of November. And the question, I believe, is should she get a job or start a new business?
Wow. You have my brother's birthday actually, November the 9th, so I know how intense Scorpios can be. The cool thing about this, Faye, is that your timing couldn't be more perfect because you're now entering a 5-year. And the 5-year has to do with change, and people change their careers in a 5, and that's the year that you're in. Because your birthday is at the end of the year, you're going to find more success as you're moving toward the fall months. But there's no reason why you can't start planning now. So when you ask, should I start another job or should I start my own business? My answer to you is start your own business. I mean, one of the things about starting a business is that you do have to grow a spine. You have to become very thick-skinned, very tough, and you have to have a lot of courage and faith. But you know what? When you're committed and you're passionate about what you're doing, all that stuff just it wastes away. It's a non-issue because you just love so much what you're doing. If you don't love what you're doing, then it's not the right thing. As soon as passion takes over, commitment follows immediately, and it doesn't even feel like work. It doesn't feel like a job. I'm going into my 43rd year of counseling. 43 years, a long time. And you know what? I love it as much now as I did when I first got my first message when I was about 16 years old. And actually, I was 2 years old when I first got my message, but that doesn't count. I couldn't talk back then. So except for gaga, blah, blah, you know. But anyway, as soon as you feel that passion and the commitment is there, that gives you longevity. That means that that's the real passion for you, and that's the right path as well. You just know, originally I wanted to be an interpreter at the UN. So I studied languages. I studied, of course, Spanish. I speak French and Italian and Portuguese. But then I realized something else took me in a different direction. I needed to interpret spirit. I needed to give messages from spirit, different frequencies. So, but maybe I can do it now in different languages, right? Because I can give readings in Spanish. Maybe I should study my languages again, and maybe I can do readings in French and Italian, you know? So anyway, what I wanted to tell you, Faye, is that your timing, everything, even in your birthdays, I look at the numbers, your birthday totals to a 1, which means he or she who must be self-employed. The key for the number 1 birth path is know thyself, become thyself. Identify who you are by your identification, not by what others say about you. It's what you say about yourself. You are very kind-hearted, so your path is humanitarian. So, my dear, get inspired and get going. Do not dawdle. It'll work.
Just another question. It's just that there's a job that is more to do with self-employed rather than I have to work and then get commission. Is that part of self-employed? Shall I go for that?
Yes, I think you should, but I think you should have a plan, another plan to go along with it, because you need to be a little practical and make sure that your bills are paid. So you take the job because that'll give you the feeling of independence, and eventually you can break away in about 2 years' time. You can break away and create your own business because you will just, you know, when I started my business, I was a sales rep. I had a job working for a paycheck, but then I became a sales rep back in the mid-70s where I was on my own and I was receiving commission, just like what you're talking about. But that gave me the confidence to be able to break away and be able to start my own business because now I was pretty much on my own. So it is a step along the way. So yes, I would say definitely you're on the right path.
So I should take this job. It's just that I'm a bit insecure about getting pay because it's not.
You know what? You better get over that because you don't want that to be your saboteur. You know, you don't want that to be your saboteur. Clear that nonsense away. There's no room in your head for that kind of thinking at all. Remember what I said about manifesting. You just have to know what you want and believe it. Know it. Don't question it. Don't doubt yourself because the biggest saboteurs are fear, worry, and self-doubt. So get rid of those things because then you're lying to yourself about who you are. You're capable. You're here to do that. But remember, know thyself, become thyself. You have to identify who you are, and you can't afford to be thinking thoughts about insecurities because you'll always be insecure and you'll never get anywhere. And then you're going to be really not pissed off. That's not a word that you use. You're going to be ticked off at yourself that you didn't actually take advantage of that. You know, why? Because I was scared or I felt inadequate or not good enough? That's not a good reason. So clear that away, okay? I want you to work on that first. Like I said, this year for you is laying the foundation for more money, and laying the foundation means to get rid of those things that get in the way also, okay? Because before you plant something, if you have soil in your backyard, but there's a bunch of weeds, you can't plant new seeds until you pull the weeds, correct?
Yes.
Once you pull the weeds, then you have beautiful soil. You can add vitamins to it, and then you start planting seeds. What I see is your thoughts about yourself. Those are weeds that you need to pull. Once you do that weeding or gardening, then you're able to implement the new idea and get going, but get rid of the weeds first.
Okay.
All right?
Okay, thank you.
Go do it, damn it.
Thank you, Faye. Do it. That's a good one. Do it. Of course you can. Of course you can.
The brain, it's interesting. The right hemisphere, the intuition, can only give you ideas of things that we're capable of doing. It can't tell you a lie and give you something that you're not capable of. I learned this from my mentor back in 1972 in a Learjet, by the way. I manifested that one because I visualized myself in his Learjet, and it actually happened. So he was my mentor for quite a while, and actually told me that, you know, whatever the mind of man can conceive and believe it can achieve. By the way, that's in Mark 9:23. It happens to come right from the, you know, a book called the Bible, but that's the positive part of it that I like in the book of Mark. Whatever the mind of man can conceive and believe it can achieve, the mind cannot tell you a lie. It can only tell you what you're capable of. And then it's up to us to listen to it, not argue, and just immediately execute. Go ahead and just, you know, do it. Just go do it. So when people get brilliant ideas, what are you waiting for? You know, don't argue, just take action. And the more you take action every time that you receive an idea, the more ideas you're going to receive. That's how you have a good relationship with your own intuition, and that your mind will actually start to give you more and more and more, especially if you follow through. Now, if you argue with it, it's kind of like saying, well, then what am I wasting my time giving her any information? She's not going to pay attention anyway, or he's not going to pay attention anyway, because he's arguing and looking at all the reasons why it's never going to work. Those are the weeds you got to pull. Gotta weed, gotta get rid of those things.
Pull that weed out.
You can't, you gotta weed, you gotta pull out those old thoughts and things. And like we talked about before, you know, we're moving into a higher frequency. We can no longer use third dimensional ways of solving things. So guess what? Those ways are outmoded, just like the word psychic. That's from the last century. Don't use it, don't like it. Let's call it what it is. It's intuition. We all have it. It's not a gift that is given to some. Yeah, I can do it because I've been doing it for my entire life, and this is my purpose and path. But everybody has the same ability, and it's not easy. It's not difficult. It's very, very easy to use. So get out of your own way is what I would tell her. Get out of your own way and go for it. Make your life. You can create a masterpiece or a mess. It's completely up to each and every one of us.
Monica, do you have any final thoughts? And could you give us a hint what the next week's lesson is going to be about?
Well, you know what? I was just thinking about that. I think next week we should go into past lives and reincarnation. How to see your own past lives. How to, you know, there's interactive ways of doing this. Like I said, it's you know, we're going to go back into the mental laboratory to find those. Hopefully episode 6 will be up so that people can catch up. But you know what? Yeah, I think that those topics it's time for those topics.
Thank you, Monica. I'm really looking forward to those topics in our next show. And I'm afraid we are running out of time, but we will see you again next Saturday, same time, same place. Thank you, Monica, so much, and thank you all the viewers and all the callers. Thank you, and see you next time.